So Sue Bird, a Utah grad, comes to the rescue for Caitlin Clark in the discussion for greatest basketball players of all time in college. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our channel. I'm Mark.
And I'm Rob.
So, hey, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please do so at the notification bell when you do so you get notified of our next video. We just got 6,000 subscribers. We're going for 7,000, and we need your help. Don't forget about our Caitlin Clark crossover, which is every Monday and Thursday, 6 to 7 on Mondays, 5:30, 6:30 on Thursdays, except for major holidays, followed by our live show. And that is a Caitlin Clark crossover is about a forum, like sports reporters. We talk about Caitlin Clark and women's basketball and all sorts of good stuff. So everybody knows who Sue Bird is because she is one of the greatest WNBA players and college players of all time. She was player of the year at UConn, won a national championship there, and then she won WNBA titles, and she's considered the best point guard in WNBA history as of today. That will change.
Yeah, today, yeah.
In the next year or two, probably.
Yeah, it might change about 4 or 5 years, a few more years.
She makes comments all the time about women's basketball. So she's on this podcast with her girlfriend/wife, Megan Rapone, and I'll pull up what she said, Rob. So here's what Sue Bird had to say about Caitlin Clark.
But just to touch on the Caitlin Clark of it all, listen, I think the way that I'm looking at this, no, Caitlin didn't win. It's why she's not number one. I think going to the national championship game 2 years in a row, basically playing big in every big game, hitting every big shot in every big moment, there's something to that, clearly. Raising the level of your teams, there's something this kid is obviously special, definitely one of the greatest of all time. And I think when I really look at lists like this, it's kind of like, do you go based on just resume, or do you go based on, if we had a draft, who would you take? And there's no way you're not taking Caitlin Clark in the top 5. And to me, there's no way you're not taking her in the top 3. So, and that's not, a knock on anybody else. I just think that's the reality of it.
Now, Rob, she's biased towards the UConn women, as you can imagine. And, she probably thinks Shara Miller should be in the top 3. So she's leaving out some UConn women here, Rob, for sure. Like she's probably putting Brianna Stewart in her mind. I'm guessing it's the same 3 that a lot of the people have. Shara Miller, Caitlin Clark, and Brianna Stewart are the top 3. And there's a little bit of a gap after that. That's my opinion. And I have no problem with you making an argument for Brianna Stewart just because based on accomplishments, but I clearly watched them both play, and I think Caitlin Clark is better. That's my personal opinion. But at least they're in the ballpark. Some of the Diana Taurasi is not in the same ballpark as Caitlin Clark, as far as I'm concerned. When I watch,
I just like her analogy as far as, I mean, I've done personnel. I've interviewed for someone for a job, and the resume is spotless. But then also when you interview with them, you look at the resume. That's why they're there for the interview. But then you look at their personality, and so I look at their accomplishments. It's like, well, okay, did they go overseas? What did they do for extracurricular? Were they leader of this? And so that's the same thing like with Clark. You look at her resume, and then you're like, and then she went on, she was in the finals. Boom, right there. That kind of jumps out at you on the resume of how a person is. She was in the finals twice. She dropped 40 points. And so it's like against not against some
3 out of her 6 most important games, Rob, she dropped 40 points. 3 out of her 6 biggest games that she played in her career, she dropped 40 points. Right. Nobody comes close to that. I think Brianna Stewart scored 8 points in the finals in one of her 4 games. Okay. So just bringing that out.
Yeah, just bringing it up. Yeah, that's why I'm glad she brought that up. It's like, yeah.
So if I had a draft, there's no question in my mind I would pick Caitlin Clark first, not just because I'm a Caitlin Clark fan, but because she makes her teammates so much better. You're going to get 4 more picks after that or 11 more picks after that, and you're going to try to win. And that's why she's the best player, because that's such an important factor in a player. Michael Jordan learned to make his teammates better. He wouldn't be the GOAT of men's basketball if he didn't. If he continued, he made his teammates somewhat better when he was younger, but not that much. But when he got better teammates and he figured out with Phil Jackson, his whole reputation and his whole ranking and criteria and ability as a player turned around, and he became the greatest player of all time.
I'm just glad that Sue remained objective despite the Connecticut connection. She passed over many players, and then, like you said, and she picked out, like she said, the only person that would not draft Sue, Caitlin Clark, is some goof. It was just, I don't know. They just have some kind of agenda.
That's fine. And if there's a game they would lose, think about it. Maya Moore and Diana Taurasi, she had to leave those people behind, assuming she's Cheryl Miller is her other pick. She didn't say that. She didn't say 2 UConn players and Caitlin Clark. But, given she knows she's a basketball historian, I'm just guessing she would have put Cheryl Miller. Like, if there's a draft, Rob, I don't know. That's a good analogy. And I've used that analogy before. But it doesn't always work with people, but I still think it's a good analogy because I'm taking Michael Jordan first. I don't care. You can take LeBron. You can take Jabbar.
I wouldn't take LeBron. I wouldn't take LeBron first.
Nick Wright is a LeBron lover. He's always trying to put down Michael Jordan. I just saw this video this morning because I was searching for something else, and Nick Wright had Jabbar first, LeBron second, and Jordan third. Nick Broussard went ballistic on him.
I would go ballistic. What are you talking about?
He went ballistic on him. He had Jordan third. And then finally the other guy says, okay, let's put it this way. He says, let's say there's a draft. And he says, if I take LeBron first, are you going to tell me you're taking Jabbar over Jordan? And he starts answering and goes, well, for 1 year, I'll take Jordan, but for a career, I'll take Jabbar. And I was like,
no. That's not the question. Yeah, that's not the question. Who would you take? Yeah, it wasn't. Don't do 1 year and they asked who would you draft.
So in other words, he's doing anything he can not to put Jordan in the top 2. He has this thing about LeBron. He's younger. He didn't see much of Jordan in his prime when he was at a good age to watch basketball. When you watch a player when you're 5, 10 years old, you don't really know what you're watching. You got to be like over 20 when you're really watching something to really appreciate the talent of that person because you have to have seen other players before them to compare it with. The people that I see that take LeBron over Jordan, almost all of them are younger. I don't know. I don't think I've had a discussion with anybody who saw Jordan play in his prime, who was a decent age when he saw him play, takes LeBron over Jordan. That tells me Jordan's better because all those people saw both of them play. I have nothing against LeBron. I'm just saying. But if I was drafting, it was the NBA. You can do whatever you want. I remember Red Auerbach, Rob. He's saying, well, if you're going to have a draft, you're going to have some scores, so you're probably going to take my guy Russell first. I said, that's not how you do it. You don't know what other 4 players you're going to get. You don't know what other 11 players you're going to get. You're going to take the best player that's going to make the team best, not knowing who your other 11 players are. And that's what you would draft. You would draft Jordan before you draft Bill Russell. Sue Bird to the rescue. She's the only one being honest from Connecticut. I remember, Rob, there was an article from someone that says, Caitlin Clark, the greatest college player of all time, au contraire. And he writes this whole article saying, there's 6 players here. These 6 players are all better, and there's others. Okay, so that's 2 more, right? 6 plus 2 others means 2. 2 or more. That's 8. He has her 9th or more. And I looked him up, and then finally, he's a Connecticut writer. It's like anything it's a UConn. I swear, Sue Bird probably right now, her life's in danger right now from the UConn Mafia right now. Her family and friends are in danger.
Right. If she goes to Connecticut, they'll be like, who are you? They'd have her, like, what are you talking about?
She broke the tradition, Rob, of always saying that UConn players are the best. And she obviously, like I said, Brandon Stewart, I'm sure, is in her mind. I don't think anybody else was. I think she had Cheryl Miller in there, but she hasn't said. So I would love to interview Sue Bird.
But you know what's cool about her, because she knows she was a point guard, so she sees Caitlin Clark coming through, and Caitlin Clark would be, like I said, in the same breath, we're talking about Caitlin Clark, and Sue Bird would be second. But then Mark, Mark, that one, I'm sorry, I misspoke. That's not going to happen. You know why? Because people are going to say, well, she's not really a point guard.
Oh, Caitlin.
That's what they're going to say. She's not really a point guard.
I saw that in a podcast, Rob, that I told you about. right, let us know what you think about Sue Bird comments. And if you like this video, share it with your family and friends. Let them know that Caitlin Clark is definitely in the top 3. If you don't want to put her number 1, fine, whatever. She's definitely in the top 3. And I'm going with Sue Bird on this one, Rob.
Yeah, I think so.
And if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, what are you waiting for? Rob gets upset when you don't subscribe. So when you do. So you get notified of our next video and join us for our Caitlin Clark crossover, which we talk about things like this all the time. We've discussed this topic before. And we have guest panelists, and it's Monday from 6 to 7 and Thursdays 5:30 to 6:30 Eastern time, except for major holidays, and then it's followed by our live show. And if you haven't donated to this channel, you can with super chats and super thanks down below. There's a link to PayPal. And we'll see you in the next video.
Peace out.